Well, we're here at the Boat Works, 55 acres of everything boating. It's an absolute mecca. And we're shooting Bulwarks and Bull Dust, Series 3. And look who I found here. I think it's Claire Back from Mulpha, GM of Mulpha. Claire! Hey Claire, can we get you? Can we get you in?
How are you?
The captain's chair by Melfi Designs.
Oh really? Captain's chair, let's do it. Love to. Let's go.
Well, welcome to Series 3 of Bulwarks and Bull Dust. I'm Wally Tench. I'm joined with Lee Randall and John Curnow down the other end of the table. We are absolutely chuffed to have Claire back with us today, GM of Mulpha Events. We've been trying to catch hold of Claire for a few months now, and Claire's got an incredibly busy role coming into Mulpha. You've really hit the ground running, Claire. Tell us what you've been up to in the last few months.
I have, Wally. You know, it was interesting. Just this morning I thought, how long have I actually, number one, been living in Queensland, and two, been running the events division, and it's 4 months today actually. So
Wow.
For both. We moved from Melbourne to Queensland at the perfect time of year, mind you, given I've escaped Melbourne winter, which is lovely, and the weather's been incredible here, and then straight into the role, as you said, of General Manager of Events for Mulpha. So yes, a jam-packed 4 months it's been. I started 2 weeks before SCIBS. So I got to meet the team. Obviously, I had met the team previously, had come up to see them and had a little bit of time with them. But that was fascinating, actually, to watch the build and all things logistically that goes into on land and on water. And that, you know, the team do a fantastic job. I'm pleased they do. You know, they've had 36 years of it, so you'd expect that, I suppose. But no, it was fantastic. So 2 weeks of build I saw, and then the 4 days of what I'm sure you gentlemen will agree was absolutely spectacular weather. And with the weather came the right visitors through the door. So over 46,000 we had at SCIBS this year, which was really good. And I mean, I think, you know, in all the years of running events across lots of different categories and industry sectors, it doesn't so much matter about the 46,000. What matters is getting the right people there. What matters is people that are genuinely interested in boats and all things boating and are there to purchase. And all the reports and surveys have come back now, and we've spoken to all of our key stakeholders, and I think we did an incredible job. In saying that, I'm a big believer in elevating experiences and events every single year. You can't rest on your laurels. There's a lot out there, and so we are busily working, you know, towards what is new and what's different. And then post that, we did all the wrap up and launched Sydney Boat Show at Olympic Park, which was for the very first year splitting the two, as you're aware, from Cockle Bay and the ICC, and doing a more entry-level, completely different audience profile out at Olympic Park. And that was good. We did that only 2 weeks ago now. The expectation in the first year was to get around 20,000. We had 23,500 people. Again, what's important is the right people coming through. And it was just this morning I started to have a look at some of the survey results, and we're having some really great feedback. We have a exhibitor information session in Sydney, I think the week after next. So we'll go along and have a look at, you know, those results and chat to people. And more importantly, you know, how was the vibe as well? You can't just put boats in halls and expect everyone to have a fantastic time. You need to have a look at what's the offering, you know, what's the music, what's the food, what's the interactive elements, what's the stage lineup, you know, what are the panel discussions and things like that. So again, having a look at that. We're very busy working on water now. So we've got lots in store for November. And besides all that, learning about a completely new sector for me.
So you've had a little bit on then from what you've just run through. I guess you had a little bit on.
A little bit, yeah. So
now you and I go back a little way. I
Yeah.
can't quite remember, maybe 15 years. I'm sort of guessing back to Melbourne days, St Kilda Road.
Yes, in the same
Credibility
office.
Crescent, thank you.
Yeah, Credibility Crescent. No bullshit. We won't call Bulldust Boulevard. Let's call it that. Now, I was really super excited to hear when you joined Mulpha, because I thought, well, it's probably a time for a bit of a broom to go through the place on lots of different levels. And you obviously bring a lot of experience with events, and we knew back then, and we still know now, that events to engage with the patrons, they need to be multi-level, and you need to entertain, and you do need to offer all those different things, and you've touched on a few of those things there. But could you tell us just a little bit of your experience and what sort of led you to role at Mulpha? Sorry.
Absolutely. So my background, actually, I grew up in Perth. I have always had a love for the water, so it's nice to be here. And I did my degree in psychology. And when I completed my undergraduate, I decided to have a gap year and go to Melbourne for a year. Melbourne, all my girlfriends were going to and friends were going to London, and it was a little bit too far for me because I'm very close to my family and just didn't want to be too removed. So I went to Melbourne for what was meant to be a year and just wanted to work in something to do with food and wine because I have a very strong passion for food and wine. At that stage, I thought potentially even a barista or work in a great, restaurant, to then go back and finish my studies in criminology or forensic psych was what I was just so, from a young age, I just knew that I wanted to be in forensics or criminology. Anyway, Melbourne, I never left Melbourne, so I was in Melbourne for 23 years, and I did fall into food and wine, but in an events role. And at the time I was thinking, like, what's events? Weird, it can't be a full-time career and it can't be a full-time role, surely. And so I had a role selling event space at a B2B show, which is called Fine Food. It still runs. It's, I think, the largest B2B food show in Australia. And I did that for a year and a half or 2 years and loved it and put all my energy into it. And then I kind of was looking at all the consumer events, and Melbourne being the events capital of Australia, I thought, I think I want to do consumer. And the company also had Good Food and Wine Show, which was the consumer. It's a consumer show that sees about 120,000 visitors through each year. And so I put my hand up and said I'd like to sell food and wine spaces in the consumer show. So I did that and then worked my way up to portfolio director of Good Food and Wine shows across Australia and launched some into Adelaide and Perth at the time. Did some international road shows with the likes of Jamie Oliver and Gordon Ramsay and Rick Stein, and just absolutely loved it. And I did it for 16 years, which was fabulous. And I'm still very close with lots of the exhibitors and partners and chefs and media, and I had a ball there. And the reason I left was it was a hard decision, but I was asked to apply for a role at Formula One Grand Prix. And at the time when I was asked to apply for it, I kind of didn't want it because I knew where my passion was, and it was with Good Food and Wine Show. And I met with the CEO, Andrew Westacott, and he said to me, you've had great history, you've had a great background, you've taken the shows from strength to strength, you've elevated experiences, you've created experiences, but you're going to be a one-trick pony. You do not want to be a one-trick pony in events. You want to open your eyes out and think about how can I elevate a boat show? How can I elevate, the track at Albert Park? What is that experience for visitors? And look at the audience profiles. And so he was right. And so I took the role at Formula One Grand Prix, and that was amazing. So general manager of marketing and experience, and really everything off track. So not so much, what was going around the track, but off track. What are we doing for food, fashion, families, music, entertainment, merchandise, all of those kind of things. And then so from food to fast cars to then fashion, I did an interim role as interim COO for Melbourne Fashion Festival, which was also just fabulous and completely different. And then I got married, which was really exciting, and thought I might just do some consulting. I thought I might consult to a lot of events companies because my passion is to look around at people attending events and for them to go, wow, that absolutely blew all my expectations invitations, and this is an event that I will continue to come back to every year, and I want everyone to be talking about it. And so that was my plan, because there's so many events companies, and then I was approached by Mulpha to see if I would be interested in this role. And I started talking to them, and I read through the job spec, and I was like, tick, 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 with Mulpha's vision to expand the events division and also to elevate every event that we have already, was just something that I couldn't say no to. And then they said, but you're from Melbourne, you've been in Melbourne, well, from Perth, but I've been in Melbourne my whole adult life. How do you feel about relocating to Sanctuary Cove? And for me, it doesn't really matter where I'm based. What matters is what I do, and if I love my job. You can go on holiday on a weekend, or go and travel and see people. And I'd only been to Sanctuary Cove once, actually. It was for a Gordon Ramsay roadshow in 2008, 2009 or 2008, and so here I am 4 months later.
Fantastic.
Was that a long-winded way of saying
not at all. Not at all. And it just shows the depth and breadth of what it is that you've done in the past. And no wonder Mulpha wanted to get hold of you, nab you, and they've ticked a lot of boxes. They've ticked all the boxes by getting hold of you, which is fabulous.
This is a quick ad break. And we're back.
So we can expect to see lots more colour and layers, I guess, with all those connections and all those ideas and all that history that you've got. We can expect to see what are some of the things that you're sort of cooking for next year. I know we touched on a few little things before with respect to, obviously Sanctuary Cove is a terrific location, but it's a bit pinched. It's got a couple of issues with its layout and with car parking and a few infrastructure sort of issues. But what's some of the things that you're cooking for the future for 26?
Cooking. Cooking. So I'll start. Very good. I'll start on the culinary note then. I was blown away by the visitation that came through Sanctuary Cove and people that were coming back for multiple days. And I thought to myself, there's a lot going on here in terms of if you're looking to upgrade to buy first, your entry level boat at first, but whatever you want to do there, if you want to purchase, the team have got it covered. It's absolutely, everyone's there. It's just fabulous. I think what we were missing was a few touch points, and one of them was a chef series or culinary. When those people are coming in from interstate or overseas and or locals, and they've had the most fabulous day out, what are they going to do in the evening? And why can't we elevate it? Why can't we have Gordon Ramsay come in, or George Columbaris, or Maggie Beer, or Kylie Kwong or Matt Moran or whoever it is, or all of them, exactly. That's what we're working on. And we've got the infrastructure. We own the Intercon and, some other restaurants. So why don't we have just an unbelievable lineup of chef series? And on the same note, why aren't we, started doing some work with I won't give it away, so I won't tell you who they are, but some really, really high-end spirit master classes and wine master classes and meat somms and things like that. So very much a lunch dinner series, culinary series we'll be looking at for SCIBS next year. And once we announce the lineup, I think you'll get really excited.
Come on, Claire, give us one. Go on, give us one.
That was a little bit of an entree. I'm hungry now. I want more.
Oh, you are all about
I'm all
that
over this
today,
food thing.
I would like to, I'll give you a hint. I would like to do support. There's some amazing chefs in Queensland, absolutely amazing chefs. So we'd like to have a couple local chefs and then some interstate chefs that will fly in, and then potentially one international. So I'll leave
We
it
know
at
how
that.
good AI is, right? So maybe AI will tell me.
Yeah, AI tells you everything, right?
Yeah,
It's amazing.
and adjust.
That's great.
So that's something there. The other thing is entertainment, and so I think, it's quite interesting. I think of Grand Prix and I think of Australian Open, and sometimes people are going to AO not even to watch a game of tennis or anything. All they want to do is go to the music lineup, and they're there for stage. Yeah, absolutely, or have a drink. And same with Grand Prix. We curated the music lineup really carefully with Mushroom. We worked alongside them, and we had to look at lots of different demographics and age brackets, but people want that extra, entertainment. So that's something that we're looking at the moment, what that lineup could look like, to have a separate stage area. I think you touched on, Wally, the car parking. Car parking is a problem, and although we have some solutions, if they're to park and ride and things like that, that's not for everyone. We have helicopters, and they're quite a reasonable price, that come in and chopper people in and out, which is great, but there's only so many choppers that we can have. So we're currently investigating some beautiful, very elegant ferry services. We're just working through what that looks like. But I think, when I went to Mona, say in Tasmania, and with some girlfriends, and we went in Posh Pit, and you walk up, you've got the red carpet to walk into, you're greeted with a smile and a glass of Tasmanian sparkling, and then you have some little canapes and there's some music on the boat, and that sets the scene for your day out. When I talk about going to Mona, of course I talk about the art in Mona, but I talk about from that very first moment that I started that journey to when I left. And I think we have an expectation to deliver that service. So we're working on what that could be as well.
Well, I guess the big thing there is, of course, that as you pointed out, you're standing in Constitution Dock and you jump on board and off you go. There's lots to see and do, and it's a lot more attractive than the bus ride, which is definitely nowhere near as exclusive or as interesting or as enjoyable as the ferry ride out to Mona.
Absolutely, and I do think that there's a place for all of them, because if you think about the audience profiles and the 46,000 people coming through, there might be, some families or some patrons that are very happy with the bus ride. It might suit them, well, but we need to make sure that we're catering for all of our audience profiles. And there's other people that would be, no, that's going to ruin my day. I expect a helicopter, or I expect a glass of bubbles on the boat.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a ferry ride, because obviously with a speed limitation, it is going to take a set amount of time. So therefore, you want to build the experience by having things to do and enjoy on the ferry ride itself, so that it's not just the transport; it's part of the grand experience.
Absolutely. I'm tipping you're the kind of guy that would like that experience.
I've done one or two in this life.
He likes eating, yes.
Canapes and champagne.
That's right. But I guess the big thing is that obviously it was a massive baptism of fire for you. Bounced straight into Sanctuary Cove Boat Show, then the new indoor Sydney show. Mm-hmm. But there are a lot of things that guests on this show and people have written in talking about the various things. Probably one of the biggest things is always to work out the balance between a boat shows for the exhibitors or a boat shows for the attendees. And that's always a very, very difficult one. How do you sort of calculate that one in the grand scheme of it? Because obviously there are some companies that don't need the 46,000 people. They need a much more finite number and probably more defined. How does one deal with that? Because naturally you've got to cater for people coming to see jet skis and runabouts and so forth, but they also want to walk past the $500,000 automobiles and so forth. So it's a very delicate balance.
It is a delicate balance, and it's one that I've always said to my teams, whether they're in food, fashion, cars, boats, golf, that you need to have a lens on it at all times. You need to have an events lens that is looking through the exhibitor point of view, the partner's point of view, and then the visitor's point of view at all times. And you really need to weigh that up. So I've just mentioned, music then. Is that going to add to a partner? Is it going to add to the visitor? And is it going to add to the exhibitors? And if so, why and how?
This is a quick ad break. And we're back.
So Claire, if you think about it, Sanctuary Cove is very much positioned to be the premier show for the APAC region, with the ability for people to fly in, people to accommodate a multitude of restaurants. They can even get a round of golf in, of course, as well as have other boating or sailing experiences.
I'm up to my fourth golf lesson, you'll be pleased to know, but anyway, continue.
Tremendous. That's right. Yes, I'm known for the most wicked slice ever. That's my particular forte.
And champagne and canoes.
Clearly. However, floor plan is a really, really delicate thing to manipulate, and a lot of people are very particular about where they want to be inside the show. Yet one of the things that seems to come out is that people want to see a sailing section, people want to see a flybridge cruiser section, people want to see a super yacht section, so on and so forth. So manipulating all of that is a very delicate balance, and I know that you've already had to have some sort of workings on that, and no doubt there's more to come.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is the nature of events. It's almost, floor plans are almost like jigsaw puzzles. We'd love to get it perfect. But when you have expectations of, two major players want the same spot, what are you going to do in that situation? We are working on it, as we always do. It's about talking to exhibitors, talking to them about why we're zoning floor plans and why we think it would benefit them and why it would benefit the visitors. And so it's something that we don't shy away from. We have open conversations with all of our partners and exhibitors if there's any concerns. And we try and make sure that we have some sort of compromise, and ultimately we want everyone to be happy, because we want them to come back and we want them to be, pleased with the level of service and their location.
Yes.
Definitely.
I've always had the view that it's incumbent on the exhibitors to run their own marketing. If you create a wonderful event, or if you put it the other way, if you create a rubbish event, no one's going to want to go to it. Now, if you're bringing in more and more people, now you're not going to always get somebody who's going to want to sign up to a $2 million boat while they're there. But if you create a wonderful event, you've got an opportunity for people to come down from Asia, creating this massive showcase for products, for high-end products and all the other products that are there. It makes sense that the companies themselves have to drive their own marketing plan. And some that we've spoken to have said in the quieter years, they take a 2 or 3 year look at things. They don't just look at it each show in isolation, which I think is quite clever. They'll do their wrap after the show, and then they'll start planning for the next show straight away. So have you got any comments on, you create this framework and forum, I guess, for them to really for the industry to come together. Now, my partner here, Lee, has been a little bit grumpy about boat shows. We might touch on that shortly. I can see he's itching to say something.
Oh, Lee. What I have to say about that, Wally, is can you come and work for us, please? Because it is such a passion of mine that, of course, we have marketing spend and, you know, a media spend and a marketing strategy and plan and, you know, put a lot of money and effort behind it because we have we need to deliver, as I said before, the right audience coming and travelling from interstate and overseas for everyone, but for our partners being, state government. But I think also the exhibitors, I look at exhibitors like a partnership. So I want them also to go out to their databases and help wherever they can. So to look at our marketing campaigns in conjunction with each other, I think is really important. And certainly the sales team, when they're talking to our major partners and exhibitors and stakeholders, they always ask, have you got a campaign running at the same time? Would you like to do an offer to your database? How can you help us? This is what we're doing. Because really, the more we want it to be globally the best boating show in the world. You know, we want it to be amazing and develop and just make sure it's fabulous. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And Lee, did you have anything to add to that?
Oh no, look, I think my views have become somewhat more moderate over the last few months. I think definitely Santry Cove this year was a recovery show in my mind. When I started doing boat shows, it was Santry Cove was still the Mustangs in the pool, the big expansive show that it used to be, and it felt like it was contracting and getting more and more expensive, but still contracting. I think this year was a fantastic show. You know, I think it was really well orchestrated and it had a really positive, good feeling about it. And most of the feedback from the exhibitors that I got was really positive. But I mean, I came through a very dark time in boat shows, you know, Sydney Boat Show where we had to stay till 9 o'clock at night some nights and people are freezing and there was all this validation around why we were doing things and it just wasn't returned. So, thank you.
So you're looking forward to the future of boat shows
with
Claire running boat shows and the food and the wine.
Absolutely, and the music and watching John Curnow eat more canapes and drink more champagne. And I am sure that Mulpha and Claire are going to make it bigger and better every time. So, no, I'm looking forward to it.
I'm actually interested in your views on hours because there's a lot of views out there and I've been doing some research around boating shows globally and hours and having a look at, you know, sunrise and sunset and all various in different markets. What, for you, let's take Sydney International Boat Show in November. What would be the perfect hours?
Look, I think at that time of year, the hours can be fairly flexible. Remember in the old days when we were in July, end of July, and it was freezing cold and we had one year where we were forced to stay open till 9 o'clock at night. It was not enjoyable. It was horrible.
Bring your beanie and your scarf.
Exactly
Cockle
right.
Bay.
But I think in November, the idea of staying open to, say, 7 o'clock is completely feasible.
I've nailed it. I've just confirmed. I literally last week has said 11 till 7.
Well, I'm glad we're on the same page.
Yeah, we're on the same page.
I think that's completely feasible at that time of year for sure. Mm-hmm. And same thing with Santry Cove. I would definitely be, at the risk of upsetting my colleagues in the industry, I would definitely be in favour of some expansion or some move on the hours for Santry Cove on, say, Friday and Saturday night for sure.
Yeah, and that's where the entertainment and the culinary series and all of those other things come into play. I remember setting up the Lagoon Lounge with the team on Wednesday prior to opening on Thursday, and we were there, I don't know, 7 or 8 or 9 o'clock probably, and just looking out onto the marina and seeing how magical it looked with the lights. And I thought, why aren't we doing more at night? And so you'll start to see these kind of things coming into play because, you know, we should be.
You could buy a boat at night if you wanted to, couldn't you?
Absolutely. It's actually the best time to buy a night.
Maybe after a few champagnes.
Lubrication might make it a bit easier, you would think.
Exactly.
One thing I was pleased with Santry Cove this year, it's such a minor detail, but this year as opposed to last year, was deleting the lower hall that was next to the Lagoon Lounge that was there last year. That was a horrible experience. Yeah. Being an exhibitor in that particular precinct was terrible. I hated it.
I wasn't there the prior year, but I'll look it up and note to self.
Well, there was a lower hall
Okay.
in that area next to the Lagoon Lounge. It was terrible.
Adjacent
Yeah, I
to
know.
the
Yeah, I
lagoon,
have seen the plans.
on the grass.
I was so glad when that didn't make a comeback for 2025.
Yeah.
I just love the way that Claire flicked the questions towards
First time
you.
I've been interviewed on the show, that's for sure.
Maybe that's my psychology degree, right?
That was great. Now, a number of people that have come on the show have offered to be part of some kind of collective in providing feedback back to Mulpha. If you would be interested in pursuing that, we could certainly help facilitate that. There's been a number of individuals on the show from different companies, large groups, smaller groups. One thing you'll find with boaties, you won't hear any of them say, "I don't have an opinion on that," and sometimes you can tap into it and learn a little bit from it. So the offer's there anyway, which
I'd love that, Wally. Yeah, 100%.
which would be terrific. But Claire, it's been wonderful having you on the show today. It really has been. And I'm going to throw to my colleague here because he's so good with the social messaging.
Thanks again to everyone for tuning in to Bulwarks and Bulldust Season 3. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe on YouTube and any social media platform for that matter. And please give us your feedback, especially when it comes to boat shows on this show. We look forward to seeing you next time.
Claire, back. That was fantastic. It was so good to hear what you've been up to in the last couple of months. You've really hit the ground running. Good luck with the next few months in the lead up to SCIBS and all the other things that you're doing. Yeah. It's been a real pleasure and a real treat catching up with you today.
To see you again.
You too. Here's a hat, little memento. Yeah, put it on, the BB hat. Good on you. Well done. All right, cheers.
Thanks for having me.
Lovely seeing you.